Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Neeraj, and in this video we'll see how we can create a server-side React application with the help of Next.js framework. So I won't be wasting a lot of time in theory, right? So we'll directly go on the code side, right? So to get started, what you have to do is you have to first you have to install Node.js, and after that you have to run this command, that is npx create test next dash app, and then the name of your application. So in my case it is smart blog, right? So this is the command to create a new next application. So when you execute this command, it will create a project a scaffolded project for you inside the directory where you have executed this command. So just to save time, I had already executed the command and created the initial setup of the project. So this is how the project looks like, right? So I won't be going into the details of each and every folder. We'll just do the most important things, right? So the first thing is pages directory. So this pages directory, you can consider this as the routing of your application, right? So what I mean by this is, if you run the command npm run dev, which is basically to start your application, right? So you can see the application is being running on localhost /3000, right? And it is saying welcome to Next.js and all this cool stuff over there, right? So let me just close this and show it to you. Okay, so we have this, right? So we don't have anything inside our route, right? It is an empty route or the home route, the initial route, right? So index.js file is considered as the entry point, right? So it acts as the home route of our application. So if you want to create a new route, what you have to do is you have to create one more file, and let's say the name of this file is about.js, and it is a functional component, and you can name this component whatever you want. So I'll name it as home, or let's name it as about, right? And over here we'll say this is the about us page, right? Okay, so now if I go over here and hit about, so it will go to this is the about us page, right? And if I go back, this is the home page, right? So what we are going to do is, so let me go through this head tag. So what is this head tag? This head tag is basically the head of your HTML. So if you go to view page source, you'll see this head tag over here, right? And if I'm not wrong, the content of the head tag is being replaced over here. So let's see what I mean by that is, so over here you can see the title of your application is create next app, right? And if you control F control V, you can see this that the title of your application is set to create next app. Let's just verify it by giving one more thing over here. So let's say if I say meta tag, right? And let's name it as description, right? And let's say content is equal to this is the blog app, right? Not true, the blog app, right? Save, refresh this page again, and now you can see this is the blog app, right? So this is basically the head tag of your application. So let's quickly include Bootstrap into our application, right? So I'll just go to getbootstrap.com. Okay, so here we go. Here we are on the getbootstrap.com website, and let's go down, and over here you can see we can just copy this CSS part and paste it into the head tag. Now as you can see, this is this particular head tag is compiled down to the head tag of the HTML tag. So I can actually paste the links over here, right? So I can paste the CSS link over here, and just to prove my point, what we'll do is we'll just grab a navbar from the Bootstrap website. So over here we'll just copy this particular thing, and inside the application I'll delete everything whatever we have over here, right? All the styles, footer, CSS, everything, right? So let's get rid of this, and over here I'll just paste this navbar. It is throwing an error. Okay, so now if I go over here, you can see we have the beautiful navbar of our application, right? It is not working because the JS I have not included. So let me just quickly include the JS also, right? So let me go to home, get started, and I'll just copy this JS files from here, go down to my application, just paste it over here, refresh, and now you can see the JS is also working. Now this is not the recommended way of adding bootstrap to your application. We will actually optimize our code and correct this wrong code, right? But just for now, you can just, this is just to give you an idea on how to include external framework or external CSS into your application, which are coming from CDNs, right? So you can see in the head tag we can include the link CSS also, right? Okay, so this is our home page, right? So let's just make our home page pretty good. I'll just remove this class from here, right? Because the navbar should be full page, right? Okay, also I'll just add some more classes over here. So let's say p-2 I'll add. If that doesn't work, 4. Yep, so now our navbar is pretty big. Let's make it 3. Yep, okay, let's go over here, let's take everything into center, let's name it as smart blog, right? Let's change the colors to dark. Yep, okay, so now it's looking pretty good, right? Okay, also now let me show you one more thing, that is the links, how the links are working in Next.js application, right? Okay, so I'll just delete this 3 links over here, just let the first one be over there. So home, so instead of this a tag, what I'll do is I'll put a link tag which is coming from Next.js. So you can see, so here we have link, it's not coming, so let me show you how it comes. So this is present into import link from next/link, right? And this link tag basically has a href property. Now remember, this is important thing, this is not to, this is href. So we are saying go to the empty route, the home route on the home page, right? And you can definitely give the class names also like this. Let me remove this home tag over here, right? Okay, so we have this li, and I'll have one more li for about us page. This won't be active, so I'll say about ABOUT, right? Okay, so at this point let's go back to our application. You can see everything has broken up badly. I don't know why, but we'll fix this issue. But for now you can see that this is the about us page and this is the home page, right? This is the about us page, this is the home page. So our routing is working perfectly fine. So let me just have a look where I have broke this stuff. So if I go like this, okay, save it, doesn't look good. Well, nothing seems to be changed, but okay, let it be. What we can do is we can just give the classes over here mx-2. Right, now it is a bit apart. So the main goal is not about CSS, right? The main goal is about the functionality of our application, right? Okay, also it is showing about. Okay, so now we have our home page over and at one place, right? Now let's say I want to have the same navbar into my about us page also. So if you go to your about us page, it does not have anything, right? So this is our home, this is okay, so let me just change it about, and if I go to about, it does not have that. So one option is that I have to manually do it, all the things, like I have to just copy whole component like this, paste over here, right, and name this component as about, and then over here I can change the content of the page over here, like let's say div, and then you can say this is the about us page, maybe about us page, right? Sorry for my typing. Okay, so one option is this, you can do it like this, but this is not the correct way, right? It should have some kind of layout inside it, right? So Next.js has a has actually taken care of that part. So let me show you how. So I'll just remove this part from about us page, right? And in index.js file we will take some of the things to our we'll just refactor our code. So first thing is, let's take this navbar out into a separate component. So I'll go to the root directory, create one folder component, right? Over there I'll have one shared folder. Under that I'll have one let's say navbar.js, right? I'll create RFC, right? Okay, I'll go to index.js, copy this navbar code, so this one, and I'll just paste it over here. Perfect. And I'll have this navbar from here, and over here I can just use this navbar, this newly created component. And if I go over here, hit refresh, nothing will happen. But if I go to home page, okay, so it's saying link. Yep, that is expected because in navbar we don't have link component. Okay, now we have our navbar, right, which is a separate component. Okay, so this is the first step, like we'll create the navbar outside, right? Second step is we'll add a reserved component. A reserved component means a component created by next step, right? They had given us in form of some page. So if I want to create a layout, what I can do is, one option is I can create a underscore app.js file, right? I can create this. Now this particular route is understood by Next.js app as a layout, as an entry point of our component. So let me show you what I mean by this. So I'll just create a simple component over here, right? Name it everything. I can name it anything, right? So let's say my app, right? And what happens, what is interesting is this actually takes a component and a app props as a argument, right? And it just renders this component. So over here I'll go and I'll just say this component and app props, right? Then if I save this, go to my application, hit refresh, it should work, right? It is working as expected. But now comes the interesting thing. So let's see, if I remove this navbar from here and if I insert it into the app.js over here, right? And let me just include it over here. Okay, and now if I refresh my application, nothing happens. So let me just close this application and restart it again. So npm run dev, okay, and if I hit refresh, yeah, so you can see we have this. And if I go to about us page, over here also you can see we have the navbar. Now it is not styled because we have not shared the CSS, but the code, the HTML is being shared, right? So now let's try to share the CSS part also. So what we will do is we'll go to index.js, and this head tag will actually take this head tag out, right? Go to our app.js file and put this head tag over there. So to return multiple elements from a React component, we use React fragment, and this is the shorthand syntax for that, right? So this is our head tag, and after that we have this particular thing, right? Okay, so now if I hit refresh, head is not found. So let's go over here. Head tag is not found. Let's go to, yeah, so here we have tag. Just paste it over here, and now it should work. Yeah, and now you can see this is about us page, this is home page, this is about us page, this is home page, and we have shared the navbar between our application, created a simple layout for our application, right? Seems to be working fine, but still there is a small issue over here. We have not even shared the JS files. So if I go over here and copy all this JS files from here and paste it into app.js at the end, now this should also work, right? So if I go over here, it should work. And now comes the important part. So under home page, what I can do is I can basically say this is my home page content, right? And you can see this is my home page content and this is my about us page content, right? So till now, just recap what we have done till now. So we have basically understood how the routing works into the Next.js application, not completely, the half part, the first part of the routing, that is this files basically act as a route in the Next.js application. So if you want to create a new route, you have to just create a file with the name of the route you want, right? And the Next.js framework will take care of creating that route internally for you to access, right? So let's say, just for our purpose, what we will do is we'll create one more route. Let's say contact us .js, right? And that will be basically it will also be a React component, contact us. Now this is not compulsory that you have to name your component and file same. You can actually name it whatever you want. So I will just name it as contact. This will also work, right? And over here I'll say this is the contact us page, right? Just hit save and we will create a link inside our navbar for this. So I'll just copy this part, right? Let me give some margin over here. So mx-2, over here also mx-2. So I'll say contact us, right? Over here it should be contact us. The name should match. Okay, so here we have our application. I'll go to contact us page. You can see this is the contact us page, this is the about us page, this is the home page, right? So first thing, we have learned how to create a static route for our application. Second thing, we have learned how to integrate the CDN libraries or CSS libraries into our next step application. Also we have learned how to create a layout for our application with the help of _app.js file, which is a custom app component, right? Okay, so till now everything is looking fine, right? So now what I want is I want to show all the post of my blog inside this application. So I have this blog.smartcodeup.com, right, where I have written several posts regarding different technologies, and I want to show this post into our this simple blog application of Next.js, right? So what I have done is I had created a API for it. So this is the API, and if I hit this, it will give me all the post array, right? Okay, so how to access data inside Next.js application. So if you are familiar with React, I show you how to use hooks inside this, right? So first let's create one hooks directory. So I'll say hooks, right, and under that we will create one function, and let's call is it use make request or use request or use data, right? Anything, whatever you want. So this will be nothing more than a function. So let's create a export default function, right? The name of use data, which is equal to this way and this way, right? Okay, now this use data will have a URL in it, and what we are going to do is this use data will basically return three things: loading indicator, just to let us know that whether the request is loading or not, error, and data, right? Okay, now to make HTTP calls, we'll use XUS over here also. So I'll say npm AXIOS test save. Okay, broke. So this is a general XUS command for React applications. So if you are familiar with React, you must be, there are 90% chances that you are familiar with XUS also. Okay, so what we are going to do is we'll just import XUS from XUS, right? Okay, so with this XUS, what we'll do is Okay, so loading, error and data. So basically these are three states. So let's use a state and let's create this variable. So loading, by default the value will be true, right? Use state error, by default the value will be null, right? Don't worry if you're not getting what we are trying to do with this. Within seconds it will, when we will use it, it will make much more sense, right? So we'll say use state data, which is also set to null by default, right? Okay. Also we will use effect. So let's import this use state first, right? And now we will use effect. So use effect, right? And this use effect, the side effect of this use effect depends on the URL. So whenever the URL changes, we want to execute this particular function. So what this function will do is it will make a get call to the URL, get the data and give to our application, right? Okay, so let's create one function. So let's say const make request is equal to async function, right? And over here we will say xus dot, sorry, it will be get, right? And we'll say const response is equal to await data, right? And once we have the response, so now if we have response dot data, what we want to do is we want to set data to response dot data, set loading to false. So we'll say set loading to false, right? And we will also include this into try catch block so that we can catch all the errors over here. So go over here, put it over here, right? And over here we'll say if there is an error, we'll say set error is equal to error dot message set loading equal to false in this case also. So in use effect, what we want to do is, first time we want to set the loading value to true, then we want to make this make request call, which will do all its stuff internally, and we'll have this URL as a parameter. We'll pass this URL as a parameter over here also, right? Okay, so this is our custom hook which we have created for making the API calls. So whenever the API call is in progress, it will return us a loading true, the loading value will be true. Whenever the call is success, it will have the data in it. Whenever there is an error, it will have a error property in it, right? A simple hook. It's a very simple hook, right? So let's try to use this hook now. So I'll go over here, use data, right? And under our index.js file only, just for now, what we will do is over here we'll try to use this hook. So I'll just import this hook and it accepts one URL, right? So our URL is this particular URL. So sorry, this is our URL, right? And what it will return is, it will return one object which will have all these three properties, right? So they will be loading, error and data, right? Now what we want to do is, now if it is a loading, if the value of loading is true, we want to say return div which says we are getting the data, and we can actually give some class names over here. So we'll say alert dash info, right? I'll just copy it and we'll have one more for error, right? So it will be danger and we will have error over here. We'll just show over here the error, whatever we have, right? And else what we want to do is we just want to show the data over here. Like if loading is not there, it is false, and error is also not there, then it is sure that data is there. So what we'll do is we'll use the pre tag just to show the data, right? And use this. We'll use the JSON.stringify function data with null and force just to prettify our data a bit. Let me delete this, save the application, go to the home page of our application. This is the home page. Okay, it failed, use data is not defined. Okay, so it is saying use data is not defined. No, use data is already defined, so it is failing. Const use data. Okay, sorry, I think I had made one mistake over here. Default const. Yeah, so we have this, and we can say export default use data, right? Now what? Use effect is not defined. Okay, now you can see, so it is saying we are getting the data, and as soon as the data is available, it has actually loaded all the data for us, right? So now you can see what is the use of this particular hook, right? So you can see loading error data, and if you refresh your application, you can again see we are getting the data, and as soon as the data is available, it is giving the data back to us. So let's show this data into a beautiful some small cards, right? And the route should also be changed, it should be posts, right? So let me tell you one more way how to create the route. So you can actually create the nested route with the help of folders. So if I say post, right, and under that post, if I have one more file that is index.js, and if I create one more component over here, and let's name it as anything. So I like to, well, you can name it anything, whatever you want or however you want, right? So what I'll do is the call which we have made into our home page, I'll just copy that stuff from there, right? Do a Control Z over here, so that we go to this is the home page content, right? And under this post component, newly created post component, I will paste all this stuff over here, right? Okay, so here we go. I'll just import the use data. Okay, now the important thing is I had created a folder, and under that folder I had created one file that is index.js, right? So under navbar I'll create one more route. I'll just copy it, and I'll name it as post, the name of the folder. Remember, it is the name of the folder, not the name of the file, right? And under that post it has index.js. So Next.js is smart enough to find the index.js file inside the folders also, and correctly bind them to the routes, right? So let's say posts. So if I go to our application, now you can see we have home, about us, contact us, and one more post, and you can see we are getting the data, and this is the post page, right? So let's just create some small cards that we can show this post, right? Okay, so under components I'll create a post, right? And over there I'll have one post card.js, right? And I'll create one component over here which will accept a post, which will have what it will have. It will have a title, it will have a image, it will have a what all feature image, sorry, it will have feature image, it will have a title, visibility created it we can use but not use it, and basically also we have many of the tags are there which we can use into our head tag. That's completely fine. So I guess, yeah, these two things are enough for now, title, and let's take the tags also. There should be something like tags. It's not visible, I cannot see it. Expert is there, I don't know, tags are not showing. Strange, but let it be. So we have title and feature image. So what we want to do is, let's go to getbootstrap.com again. Let's search for some cards, and let's copy some beautiful cards. So let's say this one can help. I think let's go with this one, right? This looks pretty good. So I'll just copy this card over here. Image source will be feature image, right? And I just close this tag for now. This will be title, so let's say title, right? Just remove this h5 over here, and over here we will have one more link. So for now we can just say read more, right? Buttons slash success, or let's say info. So this is a postcard which is completed now, right? Just one more thing, change your class to class name. That is important, although it works, but it is not the correct way. Okay, also this style should be an object like this, right? And the value should be inside double quotes. Or what we can do is I can actually remove this. I don't want this style, right? Okay, so we have this postcard completed over here, right? Now let's use this postcard into our post page. So I'll go to post over here. So we have this data. So what we will do is just create one class over here. Let's say container, or you know what? Let's go to our app.js and let's wrap this inside container so that we have a consistency in our application. So let's name it as class container, enter, let me paste it over here, and let's give a margin top of 4, right? With this small change, you can see now we have some amount of padding in our application, right? Now let's go to post, and over here we'll say let's say we have a row, and under that we want to create some cards, right? So let's say data, so we have this data dot map is such that, or let's say post such that I want to return postcard, right? And it should have some key in it. So key is equal to post dot id. I don't know if the id is there or not, but in time show the title, or let's just have the index over here, and we'll make that as the key over here. So this is the index, right? What else is required? Okay, so we have feature image is equal to post dot feature image, right? And we have the title, post dot title. Okay, so with this change, if you go over here, you can see data dot map is not a function because we don't have data. So what we can do is if data and data dot map. So we are getting the data. Data dot map is not a function. So what I think is okay. So it should be posts. Yeah. So now you can see we have this post rendered into our application, but this is not the way we want it. We want it into a div, and that div should have a class of class name called dash md dash 4, right, and called dash sm dash 12, right? Okay, and under that we want this postcard. Now with this approach there is one problem: the key should always be at the top. So this time the key won't be on the postcard but on the div, exact div. So let me save it, and now you can see we have this. Now what we can do is we can go to our application, we can give some style, and we can say width, not the width, but the height of the feature image should be, how much should be, let's say 20 rem. That is enough, I guess. Yep, it is more than enough, so let's change it to 15 rem, right? Okay, now let's go to the post.js file, and let's give some padding to our cards, so p-3. Yep, okay, that looks pretty good. Now also we'll go to post card, so we have this card, we'll tell is border dash 0 shadow, and with this small change you can see we have our application looking pretty beautiful, right? And let's remove that JSON data which we were showing, right? Yeah. So here we have our pretty looking blog application, right? But there is one problem in it. So till now we have seen how we can use the hooks, right? How we can make the API calls, use the API calls data into our application, make a route based on folders, right? A nested route. So what we will do is, so let me tell you one more thing. Now when the user clicks on this particular read mode, right, what it should do is you should take it to a new post. You should take it to the new post. So let me tell you one more thing. So let me go to this request bin. This is basically a postman, kind of postman thing, right? So I'll go to post and slash, and I'll put this ID over here, right? So well, actually I'm not sure whether this will work or not, but if this works I can show you something more interesting. So I hit enter. Okay, so now you see it has actually returned only one post to me, right? So now what we can do is we want a dynamic route in our application. So let's say the ID of this particular post is 1, so I want to go navigate to 1, and this should actually go to the post detail of that particular post only, right? So in that case this folder structure will be helpful, but the name, like what should be the name of the route, like for about us we are giving about, but now the route is dynamic. So in that case what we need to do is we need to create the file in a particular syntax, a regex kind of thing. So I'll say you have to open the square brackets and put the name which you are expecting into the route. So let's say I want ID, right, .js, correct? Now create the functional component, so I'll name it as post, right? Okay, and we'll say now to access this particular ID, whatever we are passing over here, whether this is 1 or 2 or right. So what we can do is we can actually use one hook in the next application only. So we have one hook that is use router, okay, use router, which is, can just give me 1 second, from next slash router, right? And if I go over here, I say use router, yes, so it is under next slash router. So we'll say const, so let's see what it returns. So const router is equal to this particular thing, right? And now over here what we can say is const ID is equal to router dot query, right? And I'll just print this ID over here. Okay, now I'll just refresh this page. So it is saying post just this. Let's go to 2, and you can see we are actually accessing the ID which we are giving. So if I pass 1 1 4 4, so this is how we are actually executing dynamic routing into our application. So the steps involved is name the application, name your file into this particular syntax, square brackets, and then the name of the variable you are expecting it to the route. Now you can actually name this anything, whatever you want. You have to just make the same change in this area, router.query. To access this particular variable into your component, you have to use router, which will give you the query object in it, and then the router.query will have the variable name in it, like ID. So let's use the same thing. So I'll go to let's say, so we have this ID, right? So I'll use data again, right? I'll use data again, and basically I'll go to post component where I was making this change. So I'll just copy it. Right now, this is not the correct way of making the application, like making the API calls into the application. You can actually refactor this, just for learning purpose I'm using it this way, right? The hooks way, so that we can actually learn some more concepts also, how to use hooks, right? Okay, so here we go, and this ID we will actually paste it over here. So I can actually say $ID, right? And so this is string interpolation, right? Okay, so now we can actually do the same thing which we have done over there, like what we want to do if there is an error, what we want to do if there is a loading panel, right? Okay, I'll go over here, put it over here, right? And when we have the data, at that time what we want to do with this data, right? So basically there's one property, set dangerous, or I think it is dangerous HTML, dangerous set inner HTML property, right? And over here I can actually set some HTML data over here. So what I'll set is data dot posts. I'll take the first post, and the data which we have is this HTML dot HTML over here, right? Let me save this, but let me go back and let's actually make it a bit dynamic, more dynamic. So let me go to index.js, and where we have this post card, right? And whenever someone clicks on it, so let's change this a tag. So I'll change it to the link tag from the next href will be now this will be dynamic, right? So it should be come like this way, and should be ID, right? So now we'll pass the ID also in the postcard. Okay, so there's no shame like this. Okay, so now we'll just close it and we'll say read more, like this. We'll give the classes over here. So say class name is equal to this one, and we'll get rid of this particular thing. Okay, so now if I go over here, now it should be post slash, right? It should be post slash, it cannot be directly slash, because we have, this is a nested routing, right? Unexpected error has been occurred. Let me see what, okay, so maybe under the index.js we may have to send the ID also. So ID is equal to post.id, right? We just save it, home, go to post, just saying we are getting data. Okay, so we have the data over here, right? Let me just close this thing. Okay, so we have all this post over here, and if I click on read more, you can actually see the URL of it, and it goes to post 58 something like this, and request failed with the status code 4.2. That's not an issue, but we are actually sure that our thing is dynamic, right? So if I refresh this page, you can see it is making a call. It got failed, okay, because it is saying undefined, so something is not correct. Let me show you what is not correct. So over here we have this ID, and over here we are actually setting this ID, right? So let's say sometimes this ID won't come, right? So if there is no ID, right, you want to say div no ID found, no ID, right? So we are getting the data. Request failed again. Let's say why. It should not be the case. No, it has actually passed. We have the post. There should have worked. If ID is not there, so let me just close this application, start it once again, go over here, hit refresh. Just give me 1 second, let's go through it thoroughly. It broke. Let's see where it broke. So it says React has rejected change in the order of a code. Okay, so let's actually delete this one, and okay, so let me close this and start again. We're getting data request failed with status 422. This is the error we are getting. I'm not sure what is happening, because we are getting the request over here. Should have worked. We are actually getting the data based on the ID. You can see this ID is being passed over here, so we are able to create a dynamic routing right now. I don't know why it's not showing. I may have to look into it, but that will be totally waste of your time. So I think we can actually end this video over here, and in the next video series we can continue directly from here, right? Thanks a lot for watching this video. Let me know if it has helped you or not, right? Thank you. Bye.